Welcome to Off the Post, powered by Lights On Electric and Cover All Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. And how are you?
Besides the crappy weather outside, I think things are just fine, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, today was fairly warm compared to a place like Buffalo. Mike, how are you?
Snow and slush, but at least the Bills won and the Eagles lost.
That's a Buffalo Springs snow and slush. And we have a special guest, Adam Kimmelman from NHL.com. Adam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. All right, so Adam, we're right around World Junior time. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds because there's not all final rosters. You know, the Europeans always put them out, which I appreciate because they just don't have camps. The thing I was going to start with, though, like just looking things over, thinking about who's going to be in it, I kind of like Sweden. You know, we know that Stenberg's in it. I've always liked the name Mansgoose, so it doesn't matter. And then they have another goalie with the first name Love. Like that's whoever named that kid Love, nothing bad can happen to that kid. But I like the team, and I'm just wondering, just as an overall view, do you look at this tournament and think, yeah, it's not just U.S. and Canada. There's some other threats.
Well, I think especially this year, you definitely look at Canada and Sweden, probably as the two best teams. The U.S., it's a wonderful story that the potential is there for a three-peat, I have my doubts. They're losing so much, starting with the goalie Trey Augustine, and then you just kind of work your way beyond that. It's going to be a really difficult push for them. To me, Canada and Sweden are probably the two best teams in the tournament. Of course, you can never overlook Finland because of how they play, and I think the U.S. they have a shot to get on the medal stand, but I have a hard time seeing them winning gold.
Adam, I look at Canada as sort of an overwhelming favorite. I'm not ignoring what Russ is saying about Sweden, but after last year and some of the mistakes they made in terms of roster selection, it's nice to see. Well, it's you're going to see McKenna, you're going to see a number of their top players. Zane Parekh is going to make it and probably be the quarterback on their power play. I'm interested in McKenna though. A lot of people are starting to put out their preliminary 2026 draft stuff, and I don't buy this stuff this far out. But there are some people who have him slipping from number one, and I'm just wondering, is it because he went to Penn State and he only has 4 goals right now? Because I don't, I'm not going to destroy the guy because he started a little bit slow in the NCAA against older competition.
Well, let's flip it and put it this way. If he's still in Medicine Hat and he's got 30 goals and 65 points in 30 games at this point, is he somehow a better player? I don't think so. No. I think this is what he needed. He dominated, and he was so far above everything in the Western Hockey League. He needed this push. Let's remember, he doesn't turn 18 until December 20th. So you're talking a 17-year-old going against 21, 22, 23-year-olds on, every weekend. He's playing an entirely different schedule. He's training a different way. He's practicing a different way. He's living on his own really for the first time. Yes, he lived with a billet family when he was at Medicine Hat, but now, he's in an apartment with 4 other teammates. Like there's no mom, or an approximation of a mom or an approximation of a dad. It's just him. And, remember back, all the decades ago, especially for us, when you were a teenager living on your own.
Hey, I want to let you know, in flag football, we played in a Houston City tournament against the league competition, the Houston Gamblers. There were like 3 or 4 of them there. So I know what it's like to play against older players, Adam.
Did you play against Andre Ware?
No, Andre Ware was not on that team. Andre Ware was on the Houston team, Mike.
Did you play against Jim Thorpe, Russ?
Keep it coming.
Sorry.
Keep it coming.
Not even Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was on that team, but he didn't come to the tournament.
The Galloping Ghost Red Grange?
Yes.
All right, getting things back on track now. With McKenna, he needed this challenge. He needed this push. He needed the opportunity to play against more physically developed competition. And you can say whatever you want to say about the stats. You can still see the skill there. You can still see the ability there. I believe he's tied for 5th among freshmen in points. Hasn't played since November 22nd. That's just the way Penn State's schedule fell out.
Yeah.
His next game will be December 26th when Canada opens the World Juniors. So, you can look at the numbers in the back of the hockey card and say, whatever you want to say. But, you know, at the end of the day, there's nuance to everything. And to me, no player in this year's draft class that I've seen would push me off taking McKenna with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is he's always played up in age. Every year he's playing up in age, and he's usually the best guy on his team when it's all said and done.
Sure, and there's nothing that says he isn't going to go to World Juniors, have it, you know, let's just throw a number out there, 20 points in 7 games, and take that momentum back with him to Penn State and have a dominant second half to the college season and go on to do whatever he's going to do, you know, leading Penn State in the NCAA tournament, back to the Frozen
And
Four.
for people
whatever
not
they
looking,
go.
he's more than a point a game. It's not like he's
Right.
doing anything that's bad.
Right, 18 points in 16 games, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's still having a really, really good season. And again, hasn't played in 2.5 weeks. So everybody who's passing him, it's just he's a victim of Penn State's schedule at this point.
Mhm.
So, you know, again, say whatever you want about the numbers, watch the games, and you see enough to know that McKenna against in an entirely different environment, challenged and pushed in an entirely different way than probably any other prospect in this year's draft, maybe with the exception of Keaton Verhoff.
I was going to say Verhoff for sure.
He is prospering and playing, you know, at a pretty high level.
He's playing at a high level for sure at North Dakota, and it's against the same competition, you know, 23-year-olds at times. He looks great, no doubt.
Sure. But McKenna also, he's just,
Yeah.
you got to give him an opportunity to continue to adjust. And look, he's as frustrated as anyone else about, you know, however many, the 4 goals that he has. He'd like to have more. But again, there's nothing that says he can't just flip that switch when he comes back from World Juniors and be the guy that, you know, everyone set their outsized expectations that he would be.
Adam, I want to ask you obviously about obviously the Flyers have two players on Team Canada, obviously, in Jet Luchenko and Porter Martone. How do you envision their roles on Team Canada in terms of, because I mean, Luchenko's has a good chance obviously to play up in the lineup, but where do you sort of see where Martone might slot in?
Well, to me, Martone's got to be a top 6 winger, certainly with the way he played. Go back to last year's tournament. You know, it was funny. Dave Cameron, who coached last year's team, said, you know, we need more size and strength at the front of the net to be, you know, to get the offense we needed. And he had Martone sitting in the press box. He puts Porter back in the game, and at the very first period of the first game, he's back in the lineup. He's at the front of the net. He scores a goal. So, you know, all you've seen Martone do is continue to take that level of play with him to the NCAA at Michigan State, where he's, you know, had a very good season. But now he's going to go and he's going to play against, you know, instead of being, you know, let's say slightly above average at the NCAA level, now he's going to be far above average size and strength-wise when it comes to the World Juniors. I expect him to have a really big tournament. I expect him to be, you know, like I said, a top 6 winger on the first power play, a net front guy. Skating's gotten better. His skill level has improved. I think he's more mature for having gone through what he went through last year at the World Juniors. I think he's going to be a guy who's really going to take a big step forward, even more so than what he's already done this season. And as far as Luchenko goes, you know, second line center, third line center, I thought
he won't be fourth line like last year.
No,
I think he had a very good tournament last year. You know, you go back to the game against Latvia that Canada lost. He was probably, outside of goalie Jack Ivankovic, he was probably their best player. Scores the shorthanded goal, and then for whatever reason, his playing time kind of didn't match the effort. So I think you're going to see a little bit more from Jet Luchenko this year. I think he'll have a larger opportunity to play a little bit more and maybe some different roles than what we saw last year.
Yeah, for the U.S. fans out there, I mean, there's still the Coles. You got Cole Hudson, you got Cole Eiserman. I would imagine Cole Eiserman's going to be a bigger factor this year, Adam. And Cole Hudson last year, like, he was just dominant. So that's got to be their best bet, is those guys kind of lighten it up.
For sure. Those guys are going to have to take a large role. You know, you want to see more from James Hagens. You want to see more from Trevor Connolly. You know, Riker Lee's had a really nice start to the season at Michigan State. You hope that carries over. Same for Will Horkoff at the University of Michigan, the Pittsburgh Penguins prospect. You hope all of that good play kind of carries into the tournament, but they need a goalie to step up. They need somebody like, look, you're not going to replace exactly what Trey Augustine gave you in winning the gold medal the last 2 years, but between Caleb Heel and Nick Kemp and AJ Railtz, They need somebody to step up and show it's my crease, it's my goal, and play at that level.
And we're sure that even though this is an IIHF event, that the ice is regulation, right? We're sure of that.
Well, as far as I know, the Minnesota Wild, I think, would have told us different.
I would hope.
Was, something up with what's going on at Grand Casino Arena. I almost said Excel.
I would say Excel. I don't care.
They must have.
I liked it when it was XL. The X, it was easy. Now
it is one of the nicest rinks. Honestly, though, it really is one of the nicest rinks. It's a terrific rink. It is.
They must have gone to Home Depot and bought a tape measure. Adam, we know that success or the number of players that for a particular team that go to the World Junior does not translate to NHL success. But Buffalo Sabres fans have to be excited about something. And one of the things they can be excited about is the fact that they're probably going to have 5 players in the World Junior lead, starting with Konsta Helenius for Finland, Brady Murtka for Czechia, and the three Americans. Luke Osborne's not a definite, but he had a great showing at the summer showcase, and he's having a good year at Wisconsin. Of the 5, Kleber, Ziemer, Osborne, Murtka, Helenius, which one do you think translates best to an NHL career, a successful NHL career?
Well, I think you look at Murtka and you look at the size and the strength and the skating, and you have to envision him as a top pair or at least a top 4 defenseman who can impact the game at both ends of the rink. As soon as he gets a little bit stronger, I think he's going to be a force. He was one of the most impressive defensemen I watched last year, just going through the draft process, just the confidence in the way he skated and the way he moved the puck. It was really impressive. I actually thought he had an outside shot of sticking with the Sabres this season coming out of training camp. Now he'll get another year to develop and get bigger and get stronger back in the Western League. I've been a huge Konsta Helenius fan. There's a chip on his shoulder that he is proud to display every time he's out there on the ice. Looking forward to seeing what he's capable of doing against players his own age. He's had, some success in the American League the last 2 years. Maybe he got there a little bit too early. Maybe he probably could have used another season of growth and development at home in Finland before he got tossed to the American League. It's a hard league for an 18-year-old to play in. But he's done well for himself. I don't think he's far from being NHL ready at this point. But if he goes to World Juniors and has the kind of showing he's capable of having, it would not surprise me to see him get some time in Buffalo between now and the end of the season.
I'm also going to add, I think no matter what, Brody Ziemer will find an NHL role. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but this guy just goes out there and he makes plays. He makes things happen.
He's got 12 goals in 19 games for Minnesota. So, yeah, I mean, so far it's translating. What he's doing in college may translate to the pros. Adam, the other one I wanted to ask you about, because I remember back to the draft in Vegas and scratching my head when the Maple Leafs selected Victor Johansson, and nobody had heard of this guy. I don't think he was in Elite Prospects list of draft picks. I couldn't find his profile.
Not my fault. I may work.
No. I'm blaming you, Russ. But this kid, again, at the summer showcase, he sort of exploded for Sweden. He was 140 pounds 2 years ago. Now he's up to about 170. And for his size, he's a physical player, and he's a very good puck carrier. And with that Swedish team, it sounds like he's going to be probably one of their top 3 or 4 defensemen. What do you think of a kid like Johansson?
Well, again, they're going to be a team that there's a lot of expectations on them, because you look at what they're bringing in, certainly up front with Stenberg and Victor Eklund and Anton Frundell, who I think is poised to have a really, really dominant effort. They need somebody who can get those guys the puck. And, Johansson is very well equipped to be a guy who can start that transition, get the puck going forward, and feed those guys in the spots where they need them to be productive.
Right. And probably, just to follow, probably 2 or 3 years in the SHL. I mean, he's 19 years old and he's got a lot of growth. So this is a guy who probably stays in Sweden for 2 or 3 more years and then comes over to North America. That's usually the plan that most teams they'll let those players stay over there and overcook.
Well, for sure. I mean, to this point, he's got, I believe, 7 total Swedish Hockey League games
Right.
under his belt. He's got 12 games in Allsvenskan, the second division there. So there's no real rush. He's still only 19. You know, to your point, there's never been a player who suffered from staying too long in development pipeline, right? The longer you can get him, let him over there, the longer you can let him marinate and grow and be comfortable. And then when he looks like he's kind of challenged, let's just say, you know, the elite players in his league, then you bring him over and then you can sort of, you know, get him started in North America and making those adjustments. But yeah, there's nothing that's going to hurt him from leaving him over in Sweden until he's, you know, 22.
Adam, last question for me. Is there, in terms of, as you kind of are parsing through the rosters of the various teams in the tournament, is there a player that you look at, or a couple players that you're looking at on the various rosters where you go, there's not a lot being spoken about this guy, but I think that this tournament could be a coming out party for them?
Well, I'm really interested to see how Adam Novotny, the Czech forward, who's an A-rated player for this year's draft, you know, he had a little bit of a run last year in the tournament, but this year they're really going to rely on him. Big, strong kid, got a great personality. Had the chance to meet him at the CHL USA Prospects game in Calgary a couple of weeks ago. He's got a great attitude, great personality, not to mention all the on-ice skills. So he's a guy that, you know, they have some pretty talented players on that Czech group. Adam Banach, the Minnesota prospect who plays for that juggernaut in Brantford,
He's feisty,
the Ontario League.
All kid, he could play.
Yeah. And you know, Adam Yeho, who plays in Edmonton in the Western League. You know, they've got some talent there to surround him with, but there's going to be, you know, Novotny's going to be under the microscope from NHL scouts just trying to figure out, you know, how high is the ceiling on this player? Because there's a chance it could be very high.
Yeah, I'm going to just say, from my perspective, I hope Will Zellers makes the U.S. team, because he's a guy, teammates will always talk about him, and he just always scores goals. Like, this guy scores goals. He's never really gotten – he was with the U18 team. I hope he gets a chance with this team, because I think he could help Team USA. But who knows? The rosters aren't out yet. Adam, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you at the rink.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, one funny thing is that the Five Nations – this is going back 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. Atos Koivu, who's going to be playing for Finland, he was 145 pounds. and you know, we saw that there was talent, and now he's up to 171. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, just keep feeding the protein, man. Keep feeding that protein.
But we looked at him then. It was like, it was going to be a long process. Like, you knew it was going to be a long process.
I mean, it's very rare that a prospect. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that's sort of off the board, but it's very unusual for a prospect to be drafted in the 4th round and basically nobody has any idea.
No, it's true. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. I mean, I was just saying, I taped Locked On, and I was like, a lot of times I'll pay close attention to European players because of that instance, because it's easier for all of us prospect guys to kind of focus in on the North American players.
Right.
But there's a lot of European players that, you know, don't get the same kind of press. You know, they're not, everybody's not Anton Frondell, you know, not everybody gets to shine like that everywhere, except when the Blackhawks decide they don't want to let him play in development camp either.
Yeah, just kind of keeping it a little bit. I mean, I know we have other things to discuss too, but the center, do you feel like that the lack of the center depth in this draft is making some of the public prognostications about this draft go down unnecessarily? Because I feel like we talked about, I mean, I do like Tynan Lawrence as a player. I do.
Just spoke to him.
But I think he's first overall in the draft.
Yeah.
Just I feel
he's
like
not first overall.
He's moving up that high for the pure purpose of the fact that this draft seems to be a little light in terms of high-end centers.
Okay. He is going to be a really good center. He's not going to be first overall. Now, that's not to say would some team take him first overall? Maybe. I don't think it's because of the center position, because I think when you go and break it down, most of the time, guys who are in the draft that are expected to play center just don't. A lot of them.
Yeah. The
large majority. And so, like, again, I don't think this is a below average draft. And I'm not ready to
I don't think it's a below average draft. It's just we
no, but
every
Corey
year we
Proman
get a
said
year
it, so
out.
that's my answer
It's
to
always
that.
it's always ballyhooed like, oh, wait till
Yeah.
next year,
Well,
and then
Yeah, see, that's
reality
why I don't
sets
do that. It's exactly why I don't do that,
Mhm.
because things can change with players. Guys get better.
Yeah.
Guys don't show as well. I don't want to talk about drafts 2 years from now and who's the number one. I don't.
Right, and I relayed to you guys, like, and I'm not going to name who we were talking to, but this was 18 months ago at the combine in Buffalo, when we were talking to some people, and we were saying, well, we know who's going to be at the top of the 24 draft. Who do you think is going to be at the top of the 25 draft? And they mentioned a few names, and I mentioned Michael Misa, who played in the OHL as a 15-year-old, as or what's the term?
Underage. He had exceptional status.
Exceptional status. Thank you. Yeah. And they were like, I don't know if he's going to get drafted in the top 10. And then he ended up second overall. So it's like, I mean, playing. That's why
Wayne Gretzky. We could tell people. Mike was arguing with Wayne Gretzky, and it works out that way sometimes.
He had a bone to pick with them on a few things.
Yeah. Just a few.
Just a few.
See that? I say Wayne Gretzky and Mike shuts up. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, because I don't want to say anything that I regret, which I know sometimes do. Oh,
that's fair.
You're muted. Oh, there you go. Okay.
So let's talk about the teams. We'll go through a quick one for the Flyers, and Carter Hart doesn't look like he's playing in Philly. But the big thing is
back-to-back starts he just had against the Islanders. If he didn't play against the Islanders, I would have been like, okay, maybe there's a shot.
Right.
Back-to-back starts in this case. Could he? There's a chance. I just don't think it's going to happen for a variety of reasons that we can kind of infer.
But this is what I find more interesting, because I brought this up on Press Row, and it got all kinds of reaction. Do I think Carter Hart will get like a video from the Flyers? And I think there's a chance he will. And again, there are people like, you can't do that. And I'm like, listen, I'm not saying if I was in charge of the team, I would do it, but I can't tell you definitively the Flyers won't do it. What's your feeling on it?
I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards that they're not, I think it's considering the circumstances, considering they let him go under the circumstances they did, and the fact that he is not, the fact that if he doesn't start, which I don't think he will, I think everybody wants to. I think everybody's going to, and the player too probably wants to keep this thing as low key as possible, get through the game, and then move on.
Right.
I really do. I'm going to say no, because I feel like it's a zero-sum thing for the Flyers if they do. They're going to get, you're going to get criticized for it. Right. So why jump on that grenade when you don't have to?
Well, I mean, in a different circumstance, the Buffalo Sabres did get criticized for not having, and that was the one game I was not there for. They did get criticized for not having a video for JJ Peterka, who was the draft pick of the team in 2020, who was their second leading scorer, and he asked out.
Circumstances, Mike, are just different in this circumstance.
No,
the Sabres made a decision to actively trade him. They got something in exchange. Whereas the circumstance here, we could say, well, he was acquitted and everything else.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, that's why
for them to basically not qualify him and to basically let him go for nothing.
Like, I think there's going to be people, like, if that doesn't happen, there will be some people that say, hey, how come you didn't do it?
I think you're going to probably deal with I think there's more of a chance of people being even louder if they do.
Well,
that's fair.
Let's just say this: the highlight package for Ryan Reaves tomorrow in Toronto will show him spinning discs in the locker room.
I'm going to just say this, though. I was in front of Ryan Reaves last night after the Sharks loss. He sounded like a coach, so I could see at least that value of him in the locker room, because he really does kind of gauge how the players are, and he is worldly that way.
Well, okay, and the thing is that Ryan Reaves is doing in San Jose what Ryan Reaves was supposed to do in Toronto. He was supposed to be the sheriff. He was supposed to protect the star players. The problem is, in San Jose, it doesn't really matter that he sucks. It doesn't matter that he's over the hill and he can't play anymore. He's there to do one thing: protect Celebrini, protect Will Smith, to protect Eklund. That's his job, and he's doing it. He's doing it a lot better than he did with Toronto, because last year he fought once. So, like
I
Dakota,
mean, he has 2 goals, but like his stick handling's not very good.
yeah, Dakota Joshua's fought
His hands were never that good. They were good for one thing.
Mike,
Yes.
we're gonna do a vibe check for the Leafs.
Okay.
Where are we at?
Well, I mean, partially optimistic because they're 5-1-1 in their last 7. They're only 3 points out of a playoff spot. Dennis Hildeby seems to be holding up, and they're playing a lot better defensively, which I think is not to say any goaltender could play better, but they're playing more shutdown because they know they have to. And they're playing the Berube style, which I think
doesn't that wear off after a while? Like, hey, we got this guy. Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to need to score more. Eventually, their power play is going to need to be able to kick in, and if it does, then they can afford the occasional mistake. But I think the cautionary tale here is, Dakota Murmas was a 7-8, and he was playing occasionally. It sounds like he blew out his knee. At least Gage Gonsalves need a knee on him, and he's going to be out for a while. They finally called up Henry Thrun, which I think, I would give him an opportunity to play on that bottom pairing because we know what Philippe Myers is and we know what Simone Benoit is. But the concern here is there was a setback with Brandon Carlo. There's conflicting information about Chris Tanev. One report says, he might be skating. He has taken off the non-contact jersey. He could be back next week. And then Nick Kyprios reports he may be having surgery and he may be out until late in the season. It's like, okay, one of these things has to be true. They're surviving right now with Troy Stecher playing in their top 4. I don't know how long you can last with that.
You don't think he's going to stay there, Mike?
I think he's going to stay there. But the problem is,
want him in a 5-6 role.
Yeah, he's a great 5-6. I mean, he's a right-handed guy who's smart and he's not slow. I mean, he's not big, but he's not slow, so he makes good decisions.
Just want to make sure he's not a 6-7.
So apparently, we'll do 2 more things. Barry Trotz on local Nashville radio kind of said Steve Stamkos is available. So I'm kind of wondering who's going to be interested, Mike? Are the Leafs going to be interested?
Well, I was told
Canadian Tire still interested?
Yeah, if they could subsidize him, they could. No, I mean this is the problem. Barry Trotz can say till the cows come home that he's available. He's got a no move clause, and I was told by somebody, unless Tampa Bay all of a sudden is interested in taking him back and Nashville is interested in eating 50% of his salary, he's not waiving his no move clause.
So he's just listening to offers.
He's listening to offers. But I mean, there was some report about New Jersey being interested in him. Do you really think he's going to go to New Jersey? No. I don't. There's Ryan O'Reilly's got a no.
It depends on the circumstance. If Jersey's able to somehow pull, if they look like they're trying to put a cup run together.
I mean, I'll say this: did I ever think
Hughes? Maybe it's possible. Maybe playing with the Hughes brothers is something that it would be attractive to him for a little bit here. But
I'll say this: you could be right
in the South, so it's a good question.
You could be right because, did I ever imagine Ilya Kovalchuk being in New Jersey? No, but he was. So that's fair. I mean,
he's definitely not going to Buffalo.
No, he's not going to Buffalo. No. There's no reason to. I mean, from a game perspective, Mike, don't get your ire up.
No. I'm not getting my panties in a bunch. But no, I mean, just want to touch on the Sabres a little bit because
that's where we're ending with. We might as well end with the Sabres because it pretty much,
it's the last thing. And
it's the last thing to end with.
The Sabres are good at the last
dance with Mary Jane.
Oh, I like that.
Not last dance for romance.
One more time to kill the pain, Mike.
Yeah. Well, it's sometimes it's painful to watch the team in person. I have to say, great. They came back and Lindy Ruff was all positive about them, fighting through everything, bad calls and They had a 3-0 lead going into the third period. They blew the 3-0 lead. They lost the lead with 1 second left. They did. Yeah, they did win the game. Okay, I'll give them credit. So now they're 1-3 on the 6-game road swing. They're 3-9-2 on the road this year. Their 3 goaltender situation has been straightened out because Colton Ellis is in concussion protocol. Owen Power had not scored in 11 games until he finally scored. I think it was in Calgary, but they still lost to the Flames, who are red hot right now. Right now it's like, I know that, people that I respect, like Paul Hamilton from the local radio, WGRE, is openly calling for Kevin Adams to be fired and for Lindy Ruff.
They're not going to do it in season.
They may do Adams because to Paul's point, do you really want a lame duck Kevin Adams making the deals at the deadline? And my answer
so I'll ask you this. Has Yarmo been around enough and gotten enough reports on the youngsters in the organization to kind of make those decisions? That's what I would ask you.
I think he's been around long enough, but I think he's got to have more of an idea of the youngsters around the league rather than the youngsters in his organization. Because
that's the pro scouts. He can get with the pro scouts on that.
They're not going to trade Zach Benson. The guys that they're going to trade. Unless Alex Tuck signs a long-term deal, they're going to trade Alex Tuck. They're maybe they trade Lukin.
So is that going to be a last-minute decision? Like, they're not making the playoffs. No. So when are they going to decide to trade Alex Tuck, do you think?
I think that, everything is augmented by the Olympics here. I think that if they're talking
maybe the Olympics.
Right. If they're talking to Alex Tuck's representative, which I think it's Bartlett's, if they're talking to him and they don't get an answer by the beginning of the Olympics, then I think that's when they start talking trade, because you're going to have 2.5 weeks where general managers have a trade freeze. They're going to be talking up preparing for the deadline, because the deadline will be, I think, 1.5 weeks after they come back. At that point, if they don't have him signed, then you cannot let him walk away for nothing. You either get him on a deal, you maybe have to overpay him because.
Oh, you mean like the Mets with Pete Alonso? I got it.
I'm sorry.
That's a good way to stop the show. That's a good way to end the show.
Well, if you
really want to go, if you want to get this really into a dark mode here,
I did not say anything. You said it.
That's right.
I said it.
It's fine. He needed to get it out. It
worked with the conversation
coming out through his pores.
No. And I will certainly write about it, but it worked with the conversation. Listen, I wrote 2 days ago. I didn't think he was coming back. So it's not like I'm completely shocked. It worked with the conversation because they let him go for nothing. So Mike is like thinking, that can't happen.
Like I said, you were looking for the opportunity. You saw the seam and you went for it.
All right, maybe I hit that seam.
But one last thing. The thing that everybody's talking about, from Elliot to Pierre to David Pagnotta, is not Tuck, because that's low-hanging fruit. If they don't sign him, he's getting traded because they can't let him walk away for nothing. He's the number 1 or number 2 unrestricted free agent next July. Next to him, it's him and Panarin. I don't think Nick Schmaltz is getting $10 million a year, but no, but
he'll get 8.5.
He'll get paid. But the talk is what does this mean for Dahlin? What does this mean for Tage Thompson? They're locked up long term, but if they say to this organization, I'm not wasting the rest of my career here, trade me. Again, you're trading those pieces. You can't have Kevin Adams doing it.
No, that's fair. Last thing would be a food take. Around this time of the year, we have like things that come out for the holidays. And one of the things I look forward to is Friendly's peppermint stick ice cream. But I'm going to ask you guys, what do you like this time of the year? Like, what's one particular food? But Mike, I'm going to ask you, I had a choice. I could have gotten Perry's, or I could have gotten the Friendly's peppermint stick. I went with my old favorite, but I know Perry's is good. Which one would you have chosen?
I would have gone with Perry's. Perry's is as long as it's not Turkey Hill, because that's crap. But
no,
Perry's,
it's not crap.
It's absolutely terrible.
As a person who's actually partaken in Perry's, I'm gonna say, I when I was at Niagara Falls, I can vouch for Perry's quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I just, for whatever reason, I got to go with
For
the
me-
phrase.
My waistline can attest to Perry's quality. But in terms of what I look forward to, I mean, there's nothing really like I tried and I regretted trying it at Starbucks today, an eggnog latte. No, it was gross. It was
No.
really gross.
Yeah, that
gelatinous.
eggnog or not.
Yeah,
too
I like
gelatinous.
Don't
I
eggnog flavor shit.
I do like eggnog, the regular eggnog with
Okay.
a little bit of cognac,
Nutmeg.
yeah, or bourbon.
Little nip in there.
Yeah, they do have a drink here called a Tom and Jerry. I don't know exactly what's in it. It basically is
Sort
sort
of
of
make you run around all over the place.
Is it
Oh, yeah,
mincemeat?
it's
Mincemeat in it?
it's basically like an eggnog Long Island iced tea type of thing, where it's like it's got a foam on top, and then there's like all these different liquors mixed together. Let's just say you only have
gotta
one.
clear the shelf, so let's make a drink.
All right, here's the ingredients.
Okay.
1 winter spices. I'm not sure. Oh, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, allspice. Ooh, mixed
Like
with
that.
dark rum or cognac or brandy, topped with hot milk or water for a creamy, frothy drink. Most of the time, it's nutmeg. I'm out. No, I'm out.
You know what? Oh, I love nutmeg.
I'm not drinking that.
Okay.
For me, it's
Ant, what do you?
For me, it's I sort of dabbled in it already when I visited my family. My parents were already in the process of making pizzelles.
Oh, I know. I knew it was going to be that. Yeah.
Pizzelles. It's and we're really not home for Christmas in recent years. We usually are out doing hiking. We're out on doing hiking trips somewhere. So
right.
The minute that that cellophane package comes in and it's stacked high, and I get out the winter coffee that morning. And just that's pizzelles and coffee,
or those Italian snowball cookies, the ones that are dipped in confectionery sugar. That are
I've never had that.
Yeah, those are good. Or there's also the little chocolate chip where you do it a little bit. There's the little nugget chocolate chips with a little sprinkling of sugar on top of it.
I've seen those. Those are good.
Yes.
For sure.
Those are good. All right, that's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.